Targaryen who sits the Iron Throne is not just a king or a queen. They are a protector of the realm.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I'm Ruben, formerly known as Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, and we are back to review House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 5, Regent. And before we get into this episode, I want to let you guys know that you can follow us on social medias, across all social medias, at Nerd Soup. Go ahead and follow us if you want updates on when we're dropping reviews and podcasts and Patreon stuff. And, you can also listen to this if you're not listening on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. Aaron, how you doing? Oh, wait, let me plug the personal socials. Sorry about that. Follow me at Boo Soup. No, it's actually Beau Soup. Not trying to scare anybody. And at Nerd Soup Monkey across all social medias.
You really gave me a little scare there for a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I want you clear-minded going into this review. I don't want you having the jitters. You're good, right? We're all good?
Yeah, everything's well.
Audience out there, everybody's fine? I guess we can't really know until this is posted, but I apologize. All right, let's get into this episode. Episode 5 very much feels like the episode that would come out after such an explosive ending to episode 4. It almost feels like the beginning of a new season. So we're obviously now in the second half. I just realized that there's only 8 episodes this season. I was actually going to go somewhere in August, but I didn't because I thought there were 10. So fuck me, right? I guess I'll go next summer. Hey, 2025, that's my year, baby. What did you think about this episode, Aaron? We got to look at the twins. We got some Freys. We got more Daemon and Luigi's mansion being haunted. Hugh the Hammer. Things not going so well for him. And now we got a new king, essentially. Aemon. And I'm just getting word right now that Aemon Targaryen was just picked as Trump's vice president. So congratulations to the one-eyed killer.
Interesting pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's really going for some of the coastal states. I don't know how they feel about Aemon in the Midwest.
Yeah, you need the college-educated voters. That's a big thing. And Aemon's very, he gives off that vibe of academia, you know?
No, yeah, I could see that.
Wasn't making this, I don't think the smartest decisions, but he was so confident in what he was saying. So I was like, yeah, no, we should definitely lock everybody in here, let them starve, right? That's smart. Smart guy said it. So general thoughts on the episode. What'd you think?
It was fine. Like you said, it was kind of coming down from last week's explosive episodes, kind of resetting the board, especially with some big players off of it or like on the sidelines for a little bit. Obviously, Aegon, pretty banged up, had better days, and following Rhaenys' death, the Blacks trying to regroup and figure out what their next move is. So, yeah, I think you put it well, kind of like the start of a new season, resetting the board and kind of pushing forward for what the second half of the season is going to look like. It definitely were some, good moments, but I think for the most part, it was just a very average episode that left off, I think, pretty strong with some intrigue going into the next episode. So I think that's what you kind of want out of these mid-season episodes, especially coming off of something that explosive, is just reset the board and then teasing the other dragons at the end and kind of building some more hype for Team Black. It finally seems like after a slow start, they're starting to gain a little momentum here.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you when it comes to your overall thoughts. There were some things that I liked, some things that I thought didn't really move me as much. Even the beginning of the episode, it feels like these characters only have one way to mourn after a significant death, looking off into the distance, and they're sad. Corlys actually got 2 of those scenes. I continue to enjoy the Daemon stuff, but I'm also sort of on the fence. I'm wrestling with it if I want them to move on. But I enjoyed the way that it ended with him making that decision, or he's telling the Willem Blackwood, hey, wink, wink, let's kidnap all their children and women.
Yeah, a guy like me, I wouldn't have picked up on that wink, wink. I thought he wanted him to go in and have sex with his sister or something.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I see what you're putting down, Daemon. I'll marry you. Yeah. We'll join by blood. I wouldn't have gotten, kill all the small folk and all the children and stuff like that. That's just me, though.
Right. I liked it for Daemon's character, but I thought the way that it was delivered, the River Lords coming to him in the middle of the night, waking him up, saying that we'll never fly our banner for a tyrant, that they were flying your flag. So you were going to be held responsible for this. But it felt almost silly the way that they were making their case. they just stormed off. They didn't feel like real characters to me. I don't know. That was just sort of the vibe of the scene. But then Damon has his sort of Tony Soprano moment where he begins to faint when he realizes how bad he's fucked up, and he just keeps fucking up. The whole episode, he's telling Simon, hey, call me king. And Simon's like, consort? And I think, there's a point to be made about the difference in leadership qualities between Rhaenyra and Daemon. Rhaenyra in the episode is complaining that she's never been trained to fight, but she knows the name of every lord. She knows the name of every castle. She's got a lot of diplomatic knowledge. And I think if she was in this position, she would have known that the Blackwoods were going to exploit this opportunity to commit atrocities because of this centuries-old feud. And that's something Daemon isn't so concerned about. He's more focused on the big picture, which is gathering an army and being able to fight. And yeah, he's got strength. He's a great swordsman. He can probably be the best commander on Team Black. But you also need to have that diplomatic touch. You need to be aware of these things, or else you're going to have the people you command turn against you. So, like I said, there's a point being made that the two of them together complement each other very well because they sort of make up for their weaknesses, or not necessarily weaknesses, but they bring out the best in each other because they can balance those leadership qualities. And then at the end, he realizes, this is not the kingly. That was sort of the theme of the episode, is both sides underestimate the small folk, underestimate their subjects. It does matter. Some of these people are stuck in their ways when it comes to the lords. And also just an unruly citizenry it's a problem when people are starving. That causes mass riots and protests and shit like that. We saw it in Game of Thrones, when they were all spitting and throwing shit at Joffrey. So yeah, underestimating the small folk, Daemon failing once again, even though he was, trying to show everybody, I chop the wood. I'm one of you, even though I'm the king.
I feel like we were still in one of his fever dreams when they came in.
Right. And I think that's, I don't dislike that, but the initial fever dream that he has when he's banging his mom, I understand what they're going for there. He's got issues when it comes to the women in his life, but I know he didn't really have much of a relationship with his mother, and I guess it could be explained as Alice Rivers playing a joke on him, a very sick and perverted, twisted joke. Although with the Targaryens, they were like, interesting. I didn't know we could do this. But it was shot because, once again, directed by Claire Kilner, and I loved her directing in season 1. The scenes between Rhaenyra and Daemon, they were very steamy and sensual, and it was the same thing with that scene. And then she says, "I'm your mother," and I was like, "Oh God, that's really gross." But I don't know. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, it is hard to tell, like, if it is fully Alice. I think we talked about it last week. If she's inducing or controlling his visions, or is she just maybe ultimately causing him? But it is Daemon's conscience taking over and showing him what he has stored deep down. It's not really clear on that. So yes, it could just be very much Alice just trying to get into his head and fuck up his perspective and everything that he knows, and he thinks it's coming from himself when it's coming from an outside source. Or it could just be everything deep down locked inside of him. But
deep down in Daemon's subconscious, he's taking his mom out to dinner. He was going in. He was like Mr. Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Freud, I don't know about that guy. More Jungian.
But yeah, I did like where it's going, but I feel like it's time to maybe not necessarily wrap it up, but get some answers out of this, because it is at a point where I kind of want to see Daemon get moving with some of these other things, like everything else moving around him, and the Flash's ins and outs, and him being stuck in this kind of. First of all, I would have left like day 2. He's not getting any sleep. This seems like a terrible place to be living. I think he's got to, but he could stay 20 minutes out of town. It's not that bad of a commute. You have a fucking dragon.
Yeah, right. Stay at an inn.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're tracking the emissions, because I imagine those dragons are terrible for the environment. So that there's some dickhead out there. Like, Daemon took his dragon only 20 minutes away. He could have walked an hour. But
he's the king. He can't fly commercial. It'll cause a ruckus at the airports. Nah, that's true.
You can't get a fucking security detail, escort him in. He's probably got terrible credit too. So when he guaranteed all the money for the repairs, you could tell in Simon's face, he was like, "Oh, okay." You sure? You sure we can't get in touch with Rhaenyra? Because I know Rhaenyra's she's got great credit.
Yeah, his reluctance and his kind of how he views himself and his reluctance to accept Rhaenyra at this point. I feel like it's all going to come to head. Obviously, she sent someone out there to talk to Daemon and kind of try to see where he's at, because also you have so many other things moving around with him basically in his own little world at Harrenhal, where now Jace is treating with the phrase, gave them Harrenhal. Thank you very much. They don't know, I guess, that's a shitty fucking castle.
People love it's all about the geography, man.
But it's like it's gotta all come to a head where him doing whatever he wants, acting as a king, and Rhaenyra doing her plans, it's gonna clash at some point.
Right, and I don't necessarily mind putting him on that journey this season, because he's got this opportunity. He's so far away, and if he's the one to garrison this army, he's got all these banners under his command. Why not make your claim? And it comes down to his feelings towards Rhaenyra. He does love her, but he also loves power, and he's always been ambitious, and he's always been conniving, and he's never hesitated to take a big swing. So I don't hate it. I do wonder if they're shying away from, especially in this episode, I guess just in this episode in particular, they shied away from the actual violence of it all. We hear Alice telling him that she hears through the wind about all the horrific acts that are being committed against the Brackens. But we don't see it. We're told by the River Lords what happened. Maybe there was a chance there to, a quick 30, 45 second scene. Like one of the scenes that always sticks with me from Game of Thrones, dude, is when Ollie's people get ran up on. I think about it all the time, how horrifying. You go from just not a care in the world. You're excited for what mom's cooking. Everyone's having a great time. The kids are laughing. Then all of a sudden, these wildlings come up and just change the entire trajectory of your life. And I feel like they've done that a couple times in this season and in season 1, where they shy away from those moments. And that makes it real for the audience, what Daemon has committed. It comes through in Daemon's performance.
Yeah, Alice definitely gives me vibes of you talked about it earlier, just like sometimes the disregard that the people, lords and highborns have for the small folk. Like, you can even look back to Game of Thrones, and obviously think you should have fun, watch the show, root for who you want. But you can argue Daenerys, all because she wanted to take back her stolen throne, all the people who died because of it. But it's also that's who you want to win, and you love Daenerys. So put the perspective on the small folk for a lot of things, then you kind of just see they don't really necessarily care. They're worried about if they can save their sick child, or when's their next meal going to come, or just trying to go about their lives. And then now they're caught up in all this because Daemon decided to do some more war crimes.
Right. Yeah, for the most part, I have enjoyed Daemon's time at Harrenhal. I do wonder now if there's a sort of romance and attraction budding between Daemon and Alice. I think it's there. We could see it just by the way she grabs his hand. And
right, but I feel like she's characters like her and Mysaria, I think they're so great because, yes, while they seem like Mysaria seems to be helping Rhaenyra, you feel like their allegiance is to the small folk, and they know what it's like, and they have their pulse, they have their hand on the pulse of what's going on. And at the end of the day, they're probably more for the small folk than they are these high lords and nobles that have probably looked down on them their whole lives.
Right, and it's like the reaction that Daemon has to getting that news. He knows that he's fucked up, so I think it's more of a shot to his ego. But it's also because he is more receptive to hearing about the small folk and how they feel and how they're going to react and how to keep them on your side. He even says, once we get the Brackens to bend the knee, I'm not going to abuse them and treat them like a tyrant. I'll treat them fairly. Where somebody like Aemon is not concerned about that whatsoever. Once the small folk are brought up at that small council meeting, he's ready to move on to the very next thing. So I think that's the difference. And they even show when they had that hallucination in the last episode, when Daemon thinks he's chasing Aemon and it turns out to just be Daemon, it's not very subtle, but there seems to be two paths that he can go on. He can be the person that the realm thinks he already is, or he can be something different, because we even get that one line that they're not going to support somebody who murders a child. And he's like, who said that? I'll have them killed. And she's like, half the realm is saying it, dude. Shit spreads fast around here. They don't care who wins or loses, but they definitely care on who's a psychopath. That does matter. And Mysaria makes that point to Rhaenyra. Don't underestimate your subjects. And with Alice and Damon, like I said, with the romance budding between the two of those characters, I think she sees in him what a lot of people see in him. He is that wild card, and he's also a Targaryen. He's tall, he's got a dragon, he's got white hair. But it's that idea of I can change him. And I think there was some of that in Rhaenyra for a time, and then she grew up and kind of got over it. So maybe by the end of this Harrenhal arc, Alice is going to be like, you're a fucking dick, and you're mean to Simon.
Simon's the best. But he's like, he always looks so shook, but like he knows like Damon, like he's like Damon's also like pal. So I feel like everyone there when he said that to him, they're like, oh shit, you can't say that to him. He's like, it's me, it's Simon. I can say it.
He kind of reminds me of Sam. I feel like the way he carries himself, there's a nervousness, but also an intelligence where he understands the politics. He understands the things to say, the things to not say. When he's telling his sons or whoever they were to get up, it's time to move on here. He understands the game very well, but that's just kind of his personality. He's a sweet man with no money. What did you think about the scene when Damon's threatening the Brackens? The Brackens, man, balls of fucking steel.
Well, I like how he kind of respected it too. He's like, well, those are the type of men we need who rather burn than bend the knee.
Right, yeah. He's not just gonna burn them because of his pride. That shows that Daemon, there's some wiggle room there. He's not cruel for the sake of being cruel. He knows cruelty, but he's not going to do it if it doesn't benefit him. Yeah, no, he respected it. I thought that one shot of the man walking away on his horse with Caraxes right behind him was terrifying.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. I was ready for the fucking fire to come.
Yeah, me too. And I love how restless Caraxes was, just waiting to get it on. All the dragons are ready for this fight. And there was the great line by Kristen Cole when he says, we've handed the war over to the dragons. And poor Caraxes has just been stuck in Harrenhal, hanging out, doing nothing. That man needs some stimulation.
You think he's having weird dreams?
They should get into the Caraxes hallucinations. He's banging Vagar. With that neck, oh my God.
Yeah, I can do all sorts of things.
Yeah. Some sick shit. Yeah, but I thought the CGI there was cool, and Daemon up there going back and forth, unsteady dragon. And then I guess we can go to the other scene that involves negotiation between Targaryen and some lords. Jace at the twins, Jace servant face. That I just think about it every time he's on screen, and it makes me laugh now. That motherfucker really just be, when he was walking around, when he was like pissed off walking around the castle, then he has that conversation with Baela. That was just all Ben Stiller and Zoolander. That was a straight up catwalk, dude.
He literally has the same face no matter what the situation is. Always
has the same face. Him and Aemon are really just having a face-off. That's what it is.
Yeah. And it's funny, I have the IMDb up right now. Matt Smith's picture looks just like Daemon in every scene. He just always looks confused.
He is a
whether
like
he wants to kill you or fuck you. That's his confusion. But yeah, we see Jace. I mean, I think he's been frustrated with his lack of a role so far in this war and wanting to prove himself. Knows he has not only maybe with his own intelligence or his own strategy for war, but with his position. I mean, sending the prince out to negotiate, I think holds a lot more weight than sending out any other lord that you have on your staff. So knowing what he can bring, especially with the dragon and having to sit on the sidelines up until now, showed a little courage to step out on his own and make a deal that Robb Stark couldn't. That was a good deal.
Robb Stark never paid attention to the histories. He also didn't have a dragon.
It is so funny how they're like every time
turkey.
you make it like turkey.
So it's an important passage.
It's like every time the phrase are like Danny Age, like every time you make a deal with them, you give up way too much.
Yeah, 100%, dude. You can't negotiate with them.
It's like you give up all this, like Harrenhal and marriage and stuff like that to like save a few hours on your ETA.
The Stark men are coming. When they did that last time, or the recap, and they had the Krieg and Stark audio, I thought, we're going to get some Stark stuff in this episode, and then we didn't.
Yeah, they just got great real estate. That bridge, they know how to negotiate for that crossing.
Well, that's why it's so fun when you read the predictions for how the battles are going to play out in the Winds of Winter. The geography matters, and that's why George R. R. Martin always did such a great job of relating it to real history. So 150 years before Game of Thrones, it's the same issues, it's the same problems. It all comes down to speed. And if you have that crossing, you have a better chance of getting those Stark men ready to battle, and it just makes your position that much stronger. So it was a good job by Jace. I thought it was a fun little scene there. It would have been more fun if they just included David Bradley as the Frey Lord, a reoccurring bit in these shows.
Like, these Freys are kind of cool. Like Lady Frey was like, she had a good vibe to her.
Yeah, nice fit. I definitely like the outfit. Right, old couple, both on the same page. So it was a different look at the Freys. You always just expect them. Like when we first met the Lannisters in season 1, those were Lannisters. But these Freys seem a bit more upstanding than Walder Frey and his crew. Like you can trust them, which means they're probably going to stab Jace in the back as soon as he leaves. That was a great line too when they're talking about how they're afraid of Vhagar. Vhagar is the biggest piece on this chessboard and everybody's got their eye out for her. And he says, you're more afraid of a dragon that's in King's Landing than the dragon I have right outside your walls. I wanted them to clap back like, well, your dragon's a bit smaller. Vhagar's a fucking legend, dude. Like, yeah, we're not as afraid as of the rookie. Great potential, but got Giannis Antetokounmpo staring us down, bro.
Like, you seem like a nice kid. Like, Aemon's a fucking psychopath, so...
That is another
Daemon
issue.
Was here.
Right, yeah, and he brings up Daemon. He says, oh, you have the protection of Daemon. Like, even hearing that, they were like, is that a guarantee? Because that motherfucker, nobody can predict what he's going to do. But yeah, they keep saying that with Aemon. What's the most disturbing thing we've seen Aemon do? I guess killing Luke, and even that's kind of played off as an accident.
I mean, burning his brother.
Yeah, brother's kind of an asshole. Can't say it's unprovoked. Well, it was kind of unprovoked, but he's a terrible person. So they keep saying it. Like, every time Aemon's brought up, they're like, he's crazy. I'm like, he seems very well adjusted for the most part. I know that he's crazy. I'm not saying that, but just when you see him on screen and when he talks and when he walks and how he acts, doesn't seem that crazy.
Might be the eye patch.
It's probably... It's kind of ableist.
It's just, you know.
No, I'm saying for them. They're like, oh, that crazy man with one eye. That's mean. You didn't even get to know him.
Euron in the books, eye patch. You're like, oh, fuck, that guy's scary.
Yeah, that is true.
Show, no eye patch. You're like, yeah, this guy's kind of lame.
I guess him watching Aegon get his armor taken off and kind of grinning was a bit disturbing. But he knows what's up. He's like, yeah, this is going to work perfectly for me. I hope this kid doesn't survive surgery. And even if he does, he's going to be out for a long time. This is like an Achilles injury. So I'm obviously the next in line. So what do you think about that? Aegon's... them returning to King's Landing with the head of Meleys. God, that was disrespectful.
Yeah, that's worse. No, it's not worse than parading Grey Wind on Rob's body.
No, that will always be the worst. I don't even like thinking about that. I don't even like joking about that. Poor little Arya had to see that.
No, that was tough. But, I mean, it is like another miscalculation. And I guess they said it was Kristen's decision, just how they view the dragon. And it's, you know, it might be not your dragon, but you are the house of the dragon to show your sigil in a time and people, especially the small folk who take every little thing as an omen or a sign to parade it through the streets of King's Landing. You know, maybe not the best move.
Yeah, the one person who shouts, Rhaenyra will pay for this. And Kristen's like, do they know that we won? Like, Meleys isn't our dragon. Meleys is on the other side. No, yeah, we won.
That Rhaenyra wasn't there.
I think it was more so just once again, not knowing your people. That if you just bring this horrific imagery and broadcast it to the world, people don't know what's going on. They don't know that a battle just happened. The way that news travels in this world, there's so many rumors, there's so much misinformation. You know how the Westerosi media is always mucking things up. So G-Wayne tells him, like, yo, he says, I don't even know if that was a victory because we lost so many men. But then it also speaks to the idea that, and this is something I've seen online many times, and even when the story was just in written form, is that the Greens are more Hightowers than Targaryens. A Targaryen would never, ever disrespect a dragon in that way. And it was Kristen Cole's decision to do that. But it just shows that they don't understand not only the respect that people have for the dragons, but just the overall respect and reverence people have for Targaryens at this point in time. They are, not only are the dragons viewed as gods, but the Targaryens are as well. They're worshipped by these people. They're very, very popular. As Rhaenyra said, they've just had, like 60, 70 years of nonstop peace between Jaehaerys and Viserys. They're known as noble, just leaders that honor their gods, the faith of the seven while also passing themselves off as gods. So they've done a really good job over the decades of building up this goodwill with the small folk. And now Team Green they're throwing some of that out of the window. And it was, like when Hugh Hammer has the line about the dude next to him says, "I thought dragons were gods," and he says they're just meat. That made me really feel sad for the dragons.
I wonder if anyone ate it. Do they eat any? Like, have a little piece?
Oh, I bet that shit is so good, dude.
Dragon meat?
At the Michelin star.
Cooks itself.
And maggots and flies.
No, it's even like when, like going back to the pilot of Game of Thrones, when you see the stag kill the wolf and how they viewed that. Like, I don't know. It seems dumb, but like, especially in those times and, crazier shit has happened. This stuff matters. And to see your sigil of your house, like we said, paraded through in that manner, not great.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, even today, you find a dead bird in front of your house, people are like, that's a bad omen. A fucking dead dragon just paraded with no context throughout the city. Yeah, of course people are going to be terrified of seeing that. I was scared. It's disturbing. And you have all the fucking rat catchers still hanging. What's going on in this city? Why is this place becoming such a fucking freak show?
And he was still like, yeah, no, the king will definitely pay us.
No, definitely. If not, we'll go to Damon. Yeah, Kristen Cole continues to be, he's actually become, once again, I don't like him, but he's become one of my favorite characters of the season. Like when he has that scene with Allison, I thought that was a really good scene. Because like with Damon, you could tell he's not 100% sure of what he's doing, but he's giving it over to Aemon because he's a dragon rider and he's a dude. So he backs off from supporting Allison at that small council meeting, and she calls him out and says, "Oh, I guess you're only loyal when we're doing it." And you could see some hesitation in his face. And like I said, some uncertainty, some doubt. So I think their relationship has been one of the better relationships this season. And as I said, I've enjoyed watching that character and seeing what he's struggling with and watching him do things that piss me off. He's one of the more entertaining characters. With
the inconsistency of how they frame Alicent, like that scene didn't really do much for me, only because like...
I think that's very fair.
It makes it seem sympathetic towards Alicent because she's not getting the position and like she's getting passed over and she's the one that deserves it. But, like, no, she doesn't. None of them really deserve it. If you want to go in terms of like actual lineage and what is supposed to be done, obviously, yes, Aegon's other son is too young to take the throne, so you need a regent. I think having a Targaryen in a battle of Targaryens is like, they were right. Like, Aemon should have been chosen. But we look at it as like, well, he killed his, like, he's the one who caused all this. No, we shouldn't. And then they put the long shot into Alicent where the conversation fades in the background and you see her reaction, which was a great shot, great visual, great performance there. But like, you're framing it as Alicent's getting screwed over when like in reality she's not.
Right, yeah. And it's two ways because they're framing it as that, but they're also framing it as, look at the monsters that I've created and given power. And I think that that's the one part that they should have just focused on, where you can get that point of...
like, yeah, it's your fault.
Right, yeah, no, it's totally your fault. And you can still have that moment where she's listening to Aemon give all these commands and realizing we've just made the most impulsive, psychotic man in the kingdoms, essentially the king. And she's realizing how dangerous this is going to be for her and for everybody that she cares about, for everybody in King's Landing, for the whole realm. You could still get that point across and still have that performance because it's a very good performance of her just breaking down emotionally. You don't really need to frame it as she was passed over and she's suffering from the misogyny of the system that she's propped up. Even they make the argument, how is that going to look where we're denying Rhaenyra's claim? And a lot of it comes from the fact of her being a woman. That's what we've been pushing. It's never happened in Westeros, so why should it happen now? But then we're going to prop up you just because you're the most qualified? When has that ever fucking mattered? In this world, she should be ahead of the game when it comes to something like that. So I think that scene could have been just, it's obviously going to be Aemon, and then that realization sets in, and you still get that point across without trying to. And that's what they're doing with Rhaenyra and Alicent, and it looks like that's the way it's going to go. They're just going to keep trying to do the woe is them for the audience, because at this point, Rhaenyra is just a hero. There's no doubt. She's just 100% a good person. She's a great person. Every decision that she has to make, it really, really weighs on her. She's just Viserys at this point.
Right. And
which is, that's how they've changed it. That's how they're rolling with it.
And like, I like both versions of Rhaenyra, but yeah, from the source material, it is kind of like, them taking on kind of the entirety of the whole story as a character. Like you said, the framing here is kind of like we were thrusted into this. We really had no control of the situation. And especially for Alicent's side, I feel like they could have done a better job of either A, putting some grayness within both of them, or making Alicent more sympathetic. And I feel like they missed the mark with some of the things with her character.
This is the point people make all the time, is that the Maesters are sexist and they paint them with an unflattering brush.
Right. It could, yeah.
I just can't think of any character, any of the female characters in this show that are similar to a Cersei or to a Melisandre or even to a Marjorie, if I'm forgetting anybody. It seems like that's reserved for characters like Daemon and Aemon, more just a psychopath. Because the way that they're playing Daemon, and people have complained about that too, like, oh, he would never betray Rhaenyra, but there's a lot of empty space even in the written text. When you go to a place and you have to garrison all these men, just with the way that they portrayed Daemon in season 1, it makes sense that he would be a bit on the fence. He's resisting that temptation of wanting to take power for himself. I don't mind that so much. I think that juices up the story, it juices up the character. But for Rhaenyra, you're almost seeing none of the fire from the written material. And with Alicent, same thing, where it's just, oh man, this situation really sucks for Alicent.
Well, you can even look at Daenerys. I mean,
yeah,
she's made plenty of questionable decisions, but we still always supported her. So it's like, you can take chances with your protagonists and still have people like them. On the other side too, we've, in the beginning of the season, end of last season, how we talked about Aegon, where I feel like they could have constructed Aegon to be more sympathetic, but instead they chose to write in things that, you know, especially earlier in this season when, like, I think people were like getting a kick out of him, you know? Where, like,
well, that's the thing. In season 2, they proved that you can make a character do something horrible and still make the audience sympathetic.
But you could have even done more so by leaving out the things he was doing with the common folk and the servants and stuff like that. Like, you could have just made him an idiot, but like truly someone who just got thrusted into the situation, and you can sympathize with him. But yeah, when you look at the green and black, it just looks so unbalanced, where it's a joke now. I think they try to do it again, like the promotional team, like halfway through, whose side you're on. And it's like, it's not even a topic or debate at this point. It's like, yes, you can pick Team Green because you just like to have fun and like villains. Like Cersei was my favorite character. I want her to win, but I'll never for a second be like, yeah, she's actually deserves or she's good.
No, my favorite character so far has been Aemon. Every time Aemon's on screen, I'm like, yeah, my favorite character's on screen. He's a psycho. Or they keep telling me. But the actor, Ewan Mitchell, has been so swaggy. Just the way he walks. He's so goddamn confident in everything he does and everything he says. So I just find him very entertaining when he's on screen. But I remember even saying, you complaining in season 1, or not complaining, but suggesting in season 1 that Laenor should have just died. And that could have been a really fucked up thing Rhaenyra did, but this is the game that they play.
I mean, I think people wanted that at the end with that look on her face, and even the same kind of anger that we showed. Like, I think people were getting excited, like, okay, here we go. She's going to do some fucked up shit. But, you know, we kind of see why.
Yeah, no, a lot of people were anticipating that.
Yeah, like people can forgive Daemon's war crimes. I think we can definitely forgive if Rhaenyra wanted to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then we do see Aegon with all of his injuries. He did survive, taking off the armor very carefully. It's unsure if he is going to survive, but he does in the end. And going back to that point about making him sympathetic.
When he says mommy, say, oh.
Mummy. I didn't know they said mummy. Never heard somebody say that. Yeah, that boy's out for the count. Could be eaten through a straw for a little bit here.
That's tough.
And Sunfire, they're saying, well, Team Black thinks Sunfire is dead. Kristen Cole's like, I left Sunfire to protect the castle. The way he spins shit is so funny.
I did like a little bit, like, it seems like he got a bit of a wake-up call. And
Kristen?
Yeah.
He seems like terrified.
It's easy to be like, oh yeah, we have dragons, let's go to war and blah, blah, blah. But until you fucking see it go down in front of you like that, like he said, with the charred bodies walking across and just disappearing and just the chaos and destruction, it'll definitely, like, I love the moment he had with G-Wayne last episode when he said something along the lines of like, it's like, no, I'm not scared, I'm like rational. It's right.
He said he was like, I am scared, but I'm also just rational.
Right. And like, there's a huge difference of like being confident and cocky and being realistic. And I think he got a big taste of reality there. Where like I don't even think he said to put Aemon in the seat to fuck over Alicent. I just think that was like his honest reaction to what he saw and what he thinks they need to lead him in this war. Like it just makes sense to him to have a Targaryen with the biggest fucking dragon. Okay, we'll follow you because I saw what's going, like what this is going to turn into, and we need the biggest gun on top who's not scared to go in there and cause destruction on our side.
Right, and I guess that to your point of why that scene between Alicent and Kristen Cole after the small council meeting falls a little flat, it does seem a little bit late in the game to be questioning somebody's loyalty over a decision like that. When he's fresh from battle, he just lost 900 men, all the destruction, all the death and the chaos. Of course, that's the decision he is going to make. So I think, I think your point does stand a little bit where we're kind of past that at this point. The rational minds are no longer in power when it comes to Team Green at the very least. And Team Black is kind of split between Daemon and Rhaenyra. So this is war. It gets very ugly. And in the perfect world, Otto would be running the show, but he got his ass sent away. And Alicent was nowhere to be found. So I think that also the show I don't know if they do this intentionally, but it was like Alicent, she wasn't around because she was dealing with her own issues. And I think part of that led to Otto's dismissal, but they never really addressed that. You know, the characters never really well, sometimes they do, but a moment like that, she could have taken responsibility for being a little checked out and how that hurt their cause. But they went the route of once again trying to make us sympathetic towards Alicent. And I think it's a character, I don't mind them giving her more to do versus the written material, because she was essentially the second main character of season 1, or one of the top 3 with Rhaenyra and Viserys. She was so important to beginning the story. Everybody really loves Olivia Cook. Why not give her more to do? It kind of just makes sense. Sometimes you can go too far. I don't think they're going too far. I just think they're not doing the best job giving her a real purpose in this chess match. It's like an observer who keeps shouting from the stands, and the ref is like, I'm going to throw you out of here, but everybody likes you, so you get to stay. And I think that
Sharp.
I think that is something that can begin to weigh on an audience, that the goodwill of the actress and the character can only go so far until they no longer have a purpose. It's almost like he was not as significant, but a character like Bronn. By the end of Game of Thrones, Bronn became annoying. And I think it's because they thought, oh, the fans love him, so let's always just have him around.
Right.
You can run into that, and other shows have done it too. I mean, dude, when we talked about The Bear, I thought The Bear did that with a couple of their characters. So
yeah. And while it seems like going on the other side too, maybe the opposite of Corlys, where I feel like we're waiting for like him to get back into it, and we finally have. It seems like him being named Hand of the King, and it just seems like all season, like obviously to set up what happened to Rhaenys and introduce his bastards and things like that. But we had a little bit of it when he came back and checked everyone at the small council. But I feel like every time he's on screen, I'm like, is this it?
Yeah.
Is the sea snake coming?
Yeah, I feel you, dude. Whenever they talk about his past, I'm like, God, I wish we could just see that. I think they even mentioned that they maybe were going to do a sea snake show.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he was just Luffy in his prime. Just went around the world stealing treasures from people and brought it back for his baddie. But yeah, that's a scene that my 2 least favorite scenes were maybe that scene, because once again, it almost felt like just an extension of the very beginning when he's mourning the death of his wife, and he gets the words from his granddaughter to put a little pep in his step. It was funny when she says, oh, you don't want to fight anymore? Okay, just declare for King's Landing. I'm sure they'll be very receptive. But that scene, and then the scene with Rhaena in the Vale, they're taking the approach that Game of Thrones does, where it's, you want all these point of views, and they're switching and going back and forth, but sometimes they just feel like people standing in rooms. And I understand that it's, she was sent there to negotiate, to help Rhaenyra's cause, but the scene is so stale. And I thought the scene between Corlys and his granddaughter, same thing. It's just so obvious that these lines are being written. These don't feel like actual words that these characters would say in those moments based on what they're supposed to be feeling. If you get what I'm saying, it just feels so scripted. Like even the scene, it was cool setup for what's to come, because I think that's one of the cooler aspects of this story between Jace and his mom at the end. That was like, they knocked their heads together. Ding, the light goes on. Like I said, cool for what they're setting up, and that was probably awesome for the audience to think like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I was kind of wondering when they were going to get to that. I like it for Jace, like showing especially the conversation and I mean the frustration at Rhaenyra, like her being a dragon rider also, but because of what she represents, not being the wisest decision for her to leave and actually join the fray. But, especially what happened with Luke, it's I think a normal reaction to kind of try to hold on to your son as long as you can. But, him proving himself at the twins and basically birthing this plan to get some extra dragons on the team to kind of even the score, especially when it comes to Vhagar. I thought it was a fun moment.
Yeah, and once again, contrasting the conversations that Alicent has with her sons, with Rhaenyra and Jace. Jace can actually help her out versus Aegon, who essentially just had nothing to offer at any moment. Jace is, and we saw it in season 1 that he went out of his way to learn Valyrian because he felt like a Targaryen king should know Valyrian. I'll tell you what, when he was negotiating with the Freys, like how there were moments with the Starks where I thought, oh yeah, Jon Snow, he's a Stark in that moment. With Jace, I thought that's a Targaryen prince. That's somebody that I could see why Cregan likes him. And Cregan doesn't seem like an easy guy to get on your good side. But I wanted to swear fealty at that moment, especially the way he took a sip of his wine. Like he holds out the cup, like, yeah, pour me another cup. And then the way he said, bent knees. I was like, yeah, you tell these motherfuckers what you want. And just walks off. I thought that was badass. So yeah, for the relationship between Rhaenyra and Jace, I liked it, and that's really exciting. Them putting that together, that these Targaryens have not only just distant relatives, but bastards running all around these kingdoms. And I think at this point, people can kind of pick up on Hugh with the hair, what's going on there. And his wife even says, let's go to Dragonstone because Rhaenyra's better. And then the other bastard that we saw a few episodes ago. And they mentioned Vermithor, who we saw in season 1. I thought we were going to see Vermithor in this episode because of one of the trailers.
Well, Vermithor and Silverwing, some big old boys. I liked when they're like, what? It's like you want a fucking Tarly to have a dragon?
Jace's face was funny. He's like, it's better than death. Even in this time, the Tarleys.
So you don't like Sam?
Well, fucking Randall.
Yeah, true.
Guy was a prick.
How much blood, like what percentage of dragon blood do you think you need? It's like you just got to have like just a little bit of blood, but if you're built like it, they'll respect you, or you got to be like...
I think it goes beyond that. Like even Jay said that...
Heisenberg blue meth, pure as shit.
The Valyrians, they wrote that to make themselves look more important. But I think it's also... It's sort of like the Force. You can have it in you, but there's going to be a level to how strong you are. Not everybody's going to have that same ability. So some people, they talk about it. When Baela tried to bond with one of the dragons, she almost lost her life. And she's Targaryen. Her father is a Targaryen. She's got the silver hair. It didn't work out for her.
Wait, did they just like straight up swindle the fucking Aarons then? You might not even be able to ride these fucking dragons.
Yeah, they might not listen to you. You see, George R. R. Martin was really upset about that.
What?
Dragons in the Vale. Because don't they say that Sheep Stealer is in the Vale or some shit like that? Or Sheep Stealer was seen in the Riverlands? He was complaining about the geography on his blog. And everybody was like, yo, you know what everybody was saying.
Shut up and write.
At this point, it goes, everybody was talking about he's a co-creator on the show, so of course they're going to get everything right and make sure he's happy. And at this point, it seems like he's not involved whatsoever. He's a master of deception, that guy. As much as I love George, you cannot trust anything he says at any time.
No, I mean, like he's clearly rewriting the ending that he had because people hated it, right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure we're on the same page here.
Bran was definitely told D&D Bran's going to be king and he's going to change it. As lazy as they were with that final season, they really got it the worst out of everybody. Because they thought, we can phone it in because this is the ending. George is a genius. He gave us the ending. This is the ending. Everybody hated it. George was like, you should have included young Griff. I told you, don't cut young Griff.
I think he was most upset about Quentin Martell. He really loved that guy. Fucking idiot.
Yeah, talk about somebody who didn't have enough dragon blood. Stupid. When they hatch the plan, they know people are going to die doing this. And in the trailer for the next episode, Rhaenyra, she's talking to them and saying, some of you may lose your lives.
I think in this universe, people are fucking taking that risk.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Chance for a fucking dragon.
So many cocky fucks out there, too. It's like, of course I'm going to bond with it.
Any motherfucker with silver hair is showing up.
You kidding me? I'm Jeff Stone, baby. Gonna ride a dragon.
Motherfucker named Jeff riding a dragon.
Great grandmama was Targaryen, and her great grandma before her.
Essentially going to be Squid Game at Dragonstone, because at that point you have a dragon. That's incredible collateral. The Iron Bank's giving you like a huge credit line. You show up with on the back of a dragon.
Yeah, unless you're Daemon, who again is in tremendous debt.
If you were trying to negotiate with the Iron Bank, would you rather take a dragon with you or Davos?
That's tough. What about a dragon who also has no fingertips?
A dragon who also has that Irish accent, the Irish brogue. That would be too powerful, dude. You at that point you just own the bank. That is one of my favorite scenes, dude. Davos was so slick. God, I miss that guy. But yeah, what else do we have to hit on? Yeah, the scene with Mysaria. I feel like we've kind of touched on that point, but that scene was also Rhaenyra feeling very vulnerable in this position. Obviously, Daemon is off doing his own thing, and he's not answering. Her small council continues to chomp at her heels. She says that she's never really learned how to fight. She inherited peace. There's been peace for so long. Nobody's ever done this before. And Mysaria, not only being an advisor there, but being a friend.
Yeah.
And we also have the Sir Arthur being sent off to negotiate with Daemon. I swear, dude, when she sent him to Dragonstone, I thought in the very next scene he was going to show up at Dragonstone, the way people be fast traveling in this show.
You mean Harrenhal?
Yeah, Harrenhal. Sorry.
And then another great shot I liked was like how you're saying, like, Daemon hasn't really been that evil. Like, no one's ever looked more evil than he was looking at the Iron Throne. That's the most evil person I've ever seen in my life.
That shot was awesome. That was some spooky shit.
And with Helena, she hasn't been really had time to be like weird because, you know, mourning her child and everything. But her standing right behind him, knowing exactly what he did. Damn, were you there? You live streamed that? How the fuck do you know?
The question too, like it was going to inspire something in Aemon, like he would feel regret over burning his brother. He looked like, yeah, duh. Was it worth it? Yeah, no, I'm king now.
Don't act like you like him too.
Yeah, you talk shit about him all the time.
But yeah, I mean, maybe because we haven't really gotten them to like the marital couple, not even things like scenes between, you know, Corlys and Rhaenys where you can tell there's some connection there. We never really got that with Aegon and Helena. So like, obviously it doesn't take much of a stretch for the audience to sympathize with her losing a child, because that's just something everybody would know or recognize would cause immense pain. But really, like her coming, like Aegon coming back, her husband, you don't really know how to gauge that or how she feels about it. Is she just numb to it?
No, and I thought that there's an opportunity there to show how poorly she's doing, that her mental health is completely deteriorated, because at the end of the day, it is family. So she's already lost the one son in such a tragic way. And here comes her husband, brother, and he's burnt to a crisp, looking like Viserys. It would have been nice to get just a small scene of her showing how much this is all affecting her, because she seemed completely fine. She felt like she was in green seer mode. Like, you know, she kind of taps in to the green seer mode where she's there to just taunt people with the things that she sees, almost like Alice Rivers without that same type of quirky personality or charming personality. Helena is just more weird and quirky.
But yeah, he just looked like a supervillain. So,
I mean, many people have said it, but he really is just an anime character. Perfect anime villain. And that's the thing. Team Green is very despicable. I'm not rooting for them, but I like them better just because of there's just more there. There's more meat on the bone with these characters because they're freaks. Yeah, that's for the most part. Like we said with Sir Arthur, I always like when the old vet reaffirms his loyalty, even though he's been chirping at Rhaenyra.
Well, like with some people, it's like it's either because they love Rhaenyra or they just fucking hate the Hightowers. Any other house, maybe, but the Hightowers, no, absolutely not.
Right, and once again, people really hate the Hightowers, but I'm not really picking that up from Alicent. You know, somebody told me, when they used to say everybody hates the Lannisters in Game of Thrones, I'm like, yeah, duh. They all fucking suck. And the Hightowers, they're just kind of regular. Like, yeah, no, they do fucked up shit, and Otto, he's got some time within him, but they're not so bad. Maybe I'm just too in love with Olivia Cook.
Nah, yeah. That'll do it.
And Rhys Ifans. And Kristen Cole a little bit. Have to get nervous around you next time we hang out.
Chill.
Yo, chill.
Yo, chill.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for this review of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 5. We've been struggling to get our spoiler discussions out because it's just impossible to find a third. But we're going to probably just do that, me and you. And we're going to take some questions from the audience. We'll do like a nice first 5 episodes recap, sort of a first half of the season, how we feel. We'll get the feelings from the fans. We'll get some good questions. We'll take some fun questions, some serious questions, and it should be a good time. And make sure you follow us on social medias if you want to ask the questions. People always say, where can I send in the question? We usually take them on Instagram. We say, hey, we need some questions. Send them in, and then people send them. So, and on Patreon, we've got 3 fan question podcasts up, and we've got 2 more on the way, which is going to be an extended spoiler discussion of The Bear Season 3. And our review of The Bear Season 3 will be dropping this week, so be on the lookout for that. And the last fan question podcast will probably just be a just normal, fun, taking some questions. So yeah, Aaron, thanks for joining me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week and life.
No, thanks. You too, man.
And that is a wrap. See you next week, guys. We'll be back very soon.
War is coming.